What's cracking? This is how I get easy yeses or easy signups to a $5,800 at minimum fitness program online for online coaching. Boom! Timmy with the intro. So straight out the gate, the first thing that you've got to have, and I sold a fair few of these, I sell a few fair of these, is having a quality product, because you have to realize that people care about quality. That's the biggest number one thing that people are after. That's what people will pay for. And that's where the high ticket sales side of things comes in. You've got to be a gun at quality objection handling and actually have it be worth that much. Because if you're just like, oh, I'm just going to slap the biggest number I can on it just for the sake of it, when people start to question or even just genuinely ask why, hey, why does it cost this much or anything like that, you'll also carry yourself in a way that invites that. And you'll be like, I don't know. Like if you don't really back it. So you've got to back it and know that people pay for results. They pay for high quality coaching. They don't necessarily, the biggest criteria is not how much it costs. Because if something costs a lot, but it's really valuable to someone, they'll spend a lot on it. Take car guys, for example, because I know some car guys. They'll spend tens of thousands of dollars, some of them not very wisely, putting themselves into debt because of the cars, because of the parts, because they want all that, because that's so valuable to them. Or they'll save up for a while and then put money towards those kinds of things because it's that valuable. So it's really important to realize that value is what you need to leverage first and foremost. That's in your content, and both when you're on calls with people or if you're messaging with them, value is number one. So you've got to realize that, because that value, part of that is a quality service. And then you being able to convey that value is part of you being a quality coach, a quality leader, because ultimately we are leaders. And you want to have a quality service that has built-in referrals, or like just regularly you ask referrals, because referrals have a built-in trust factor of like, if someone's loving your program and you ask them. So normally after the first month, I'll ask, hey, do you know anyone that might be interested? They're seeing wicked results by this period of time, because like 4 weeks is plenty of time to see awesome results. Like most of my guys get results within the first 2 weeks. Like, this is incredible. I'm feeling stronger. I'm getting leaner. I'm bigger. And so it's like, hey, at the 4 week mark or the 1 month mark, yeah, hey, do you know anyone that might be interested? And you are the one who basically initiates that. You don't just expect people to know about your referral system, because it's a big issue with a lot of people. They're just like, they won't ask that side of things. And if you don't ask, the answer is almost definitely no. So even just asking, obviously don't ask every month or every week for them. If they say no, that's cool. I'd give it another 3 months before asking again, unless you feel like it's right or they come to you with that side of things, obviously. And then getting back, oh yeah, so with referrals, it's like if there's that high level of trust, they're just going to inherently, like someone referring you, they're going to trust you more. They're going to be like, okay, cool, my friends recommended this guy. They obviously, my friend knows me, so there's an aspect of just like trust that blends over, or that carries over essentially to you there. I'm going to get a quick sip, but what that means is that when you come in, you can be confident in that trust that people already have in you and go for it from there, because they know it's quality service. They've seen their mate getting the quality service as well, and they're like, dude, I want this. Like, let's go. And that means that when you get to the end of it, you're not going to be like, it's $5,800, it's $5,000 kind of thing. You're going to be confident and know, yeah, that's the case. It's worth it. And they also know, okay, this is worth it kind of thing. And yeah, so then one of the next biggest things, I'm talking firstly on a call itself, you have to have high quality objection handling, or have to know how to do that. Like, be a high quality leader is essentially what that is, because when it comes to the sales side of things, sales is everything. You see sales everywhere in life. It's basically having influence, or being like, hey man, do you want to do this thing? And if someone does want to do it, they will put up things to get in their own way a lot of the time. There's always, like we've heard the old adage, there's always a reason not to do something. We'll always get in our own way. We've always got an excuse and always a reason to do it later. So knowing how to handle common objections is really key. And the high quality way of doing that is when someone says something or an objection comes up, you clarify that. So you go, okay, what do you mean by that? Oh, how'd you come to that conclusion? Why is that the case for you? And I can be like quite assertive with it and But the biggest thing is you want to invite them into an open space where they feel comfortable enough with you to open up for that side of things. And prior to that, it obviously really helps, or it's essential pretty much, to have a high quality sales conversation to go through. And you've got to actually talk to people. So you want to build up as much trust as possible. Ask them a lot of questions when you first get to know them. Build up rapport, build up trust throughout the call. And then you also want to ask high quality questions that relate to their goal, that help you get a really good insight into emotionally why they want to achieve that, why they want to achieve the things they want to achieve, how they want to do it, how long they want it to take, like what struggles they're having, how long that's been a struggle for. You want to get really deep on that stuff, because then that is stuff that you can understand them better. And when the objections come up, you can take what they've said before and then frame it in that context, not throw it back in their face, be like, you said this though. It's not that. It's about leading them, being like, okay, so we've said this is the case before, so how come this is coming up now? And then going through that kind of thing. Of course, it's easy to say when I'm not getting any direct feedback on it or anyone actually coming up. So that's another thing, like get in there and have those conversations, because another big part of that is having the skill, and skills are only developed by repetitions, just going over and over and over again, and being active, thinking about, okay, how could I do this better? How can I improve a little bit? Just one thing. What's one thing I can improve? And a quick little tidbit that is really, really useful for the sales call side of things and for building up rapport subconsciously with people is mimicking, or not mimicking, but in a way it's mimicking, but basically relaying or using the same communicative style or language that they have as well. So what that means is, if they are someone who communicates in a very logical way, then using those kind of terms, if they're very like feelings based, so those are the two easiest ones, then whenever you ask something, you can be like, does that make sense? If they're more logical, or if they are more feelings based, you can be like, do you feel what I'm saying? Do you feel me? Or how does that feel for you? Then you can start to automatically build up that rapport. Another one is visual. Like people will be like, oh, I see your point, or I see this, I see myself doing this kind of thing. They'll speak in terms of very visual things. And that one's easy. You can just be like, do you see what I mean? That kind of thing. So using that style inherently builds up rapport. And it just allows you to understand people better. Because then you can also, when people trust you more, they can open up to you more. You can ask them about things and they inherently just feel more comfortable with you. And they are able to actually, they're able to tell you what's really bothering them or what's really going on a deeper or core level. Ultimately, that's what you want to do by clarifying and going through all of these things, because people make decisions on an emotional basis and then dress it up with logic. So we have to kind of undress or dig through that logic to get to the emotional core, because that's what drives decision making for most people. Obviously, you've got more rational people will overcome that side of things, but ultimately, a lot of the time we want it to feel right and do that side of things. And if you're not aware or thinking about that kind of thing very often, you won't realize that it's coming from that place. So we want to actually go to people and appeal to them in a way that they'll understand, not forcing them to communicate on our terms, but we are the coaches in this, and we are we're leading them through, and being a good leader is also being able to communicate with people effectively. And that's part of sales, like sales and having influence. So there's that side of things, and you've got to realize that when it comes to the objection handling, you have to coach them through the decision, because it's not like hard decisions are never going to come up again. If they say yes to this, there are going to be hard decisions, life decisions, that kind of thing that come up during the program or after. So it's basically all about being able to handle difficult decisions and coach them through it. And that's why you clarify, so that you can actually coach people through on an emotional level as well as the logical side of things, because there's an inherent trust as well that comes with, okay, this person's helped me through making this decision-making process, because at the end of it, ultimately what you want to do is get a clear yes or a clear no. And if you know the program's right for them, and they know it's right for them, but they start putting things up in the way, you have to care about them so much that you are willing to get them out of their own way. I've heard it put that way by Alex Hormozy, but we put in that effort to get things out of their way. And that's our job as a coach, as a leader. It's our job to go out of our way to do that, because it's not as simple as, oh, hey, you need this thing and I have this thing. There you go. It's not necessarily that easy for people. And another big thing that I will say is after the first portion of like a sales call, where you're the first third or so, where you're asking their goals, all that, getting that information from them, digging deeper, understanding where they're coming from emotionally. When you go on to actually do your pitch or like tell them about your program, a big thing here is, like I said before, value. Convey it in terms of value and what people actually want. Because if someone's told you, I want help with accountability, I want to get these results, I want to feel better in my body, and you go, okay, cool, here's I do check-ins once a week, and I give you a spreadsheet, and I do it on this training app, and we use my fitness pal. They don't care about that. They're like, cool, like it's not bad to list those things, but what they really care about is the value and the benefits. So you've got to use the information that people tell you have given you, and frame everything in terms of the benefits in the context of those things that they want, what they perceive to be valuable. So a quick, like a really useful thing that I use is, because obviously people do want to know what's included a lot of the time, and that's not a bad thing. Anytime you list a feature, because those things are features like check-ins once a week, video calls, that kind of thing. Those are all features of your programs, you know. Do it online. We do it on Zoom, and you get this training program on Trainerize or whatever you use, Train Heroic, or you get a spreadsheet, that kind of thing. Frame every time you list one of those features, list it in terms of a benefit. So if someone's told you, I really struggle with accountability and I want help with getting on track, then you frame it in terms of, okay, cool, well, when you get to that portion, we do check-ins every fortnight. For example, I'm kind of using my own examples, check-ins every fortnight. And what that does is it helps with the accountability side of things, because what we are doing is we're basically helping you to instill the habits by having a regular set point to check in. Even if things aren't going well in your eyes, they are basically, it's all part of the journey, all part of the process. And there's always something that we can learn to help you get better and better. And a big part of that is having that access to you, to me, the coach, and walking through that side of things together so that we can learn and continue the journey. So then that's how I put accountability. And an extra little thing is like, even being like, yeah, even if it's for a small period of time, accountability in that sense will help instill habits for the rest of your life, because you want this to be a long-term thing. Right. And then, yes, obviously, you can ask them that, or like that is normally the case. Then part of it is instilling the habits, the practices, the beliefs, becoming that person. And part of that is for a time you don't know what you don't know. And that's okay. That's why we do the program. Like say it's 6 months. 6 months, we'll be able to instill those habits. And an example that I like to give, I'm just going into a lot of detail here. An example that I give is when you are young and you don't want to brush your teeth, sometimes you'll be like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to brush my teeth. And then your parents are just like, go and brush your teeth. And so you go brush your teeth. And now as an adult, hopefully, you just brush your teeth automatically. I know that Yana doesn't like to sometimes, but I bring the toothbrush over. I'm like, go on. She might not be too happy with me saying that. But she always brushes her teeth. And that's a big thing there, is having the ability to basically instill the habit. It's an active process to instill and build up habits. But once you do it, it's like automatic, or like you just do it for the rest of your life. It's a given. It's part of your identity. And when things are a part of your identity, then all of your actions stem from that. If you just believe something, if something just is you just do that. So yeah, that is a long way of saying that. You can obviously take as much detail from that as you want. Sometimes I say the whole thing. If they're really big on accountability, if that was one of the main things, like I'll write that down, I'll note that down, and then I would probably say that much about it if that was one of the main things. So you just go into detail, but you can see how it's not as quick or easy necessarily as like, oh yeah, this. Yep, I do check in. It's good for you. You've got to walk them through that decision, walk with them through that, coach them through that, and coach them through understanding that process. So yeah, and obviously cater that to their type of emotional language or communicative style language. And then a big thing here, we're going to get into content now. So that was one part on the call itself. But then what you want to do is whatever they say, you take down notes, you take down the specific way they're saying it, how they're saying it, the emotional angle, all of those things. Take that and how you would normally address it, regardless of how the call goes. So normally I do the call, by the end of it, I've gotten it where people are like, no objections, all good, because I've also taken objections that people have had before, and when they say those similar phrases, I'll address it before we even get to me being like, here's what I actually offer. And then as a result, they're like, oh, this guy understands me already. Like, they really get it, and you handle those objections throughout the call. That's a very effective and useful thing to be able to do. Again, skill, practice, having that guidance from like a leader or a mentor, that side of things. That's huge. So whatever they say on those calls, you want to take those objections or the concerns that people have and put them into your content as well. Because then what happens is people handle those objections or address those concerns themselves through your content. Because when they're consuming your content, they're already interested in you, what you have to say, what you have to offer. And you are already an authority or a leadership figure in your content. And then when you talk to them about it, it's like a one-way conversation. All they can do is listen and consider and sit with it. Be like, do I agree with what they said? So if someone's always like, oh, price is always an objection, and you have a certain way of dealing with that objection, a certain thing that you're like, this works, which obviously would be like, oh, in terms of value, like if something's important enough, you'll make it work. That side of things is like a very basic way of looking at it, potentially a bit crude, but you can make content about that, understanding, hey, it's about value. If something's important enough to you, you'll make it work, because you don't just consider things in terms of price, consider it in terms of overall value. What does it actually add to your life? And then as a result of that, you'll put that into the content. And then people handle those objections, address those concerns themselves, like I was saying before. And what ends up happening is when they jump onto this, by the time someone jumps onto a sales call with you, or if they're interested in working with you, you go through the process, message them, and then they're on the call with you. They've already handled a lot of those things. They're like, oh, cool, I already know that. Yeah, and I'm not going to let that stand in my way. I'm not going to let money be an issue, because money is not an issue. Money is just a tool. It's a means to an end, and the end goal being health, happiness, all of these kind of things, whatever it is, being jacked, whatever their goal is. So you've got that side of things there. So that's that tidbit of putting objections into content. And what you want to do is like, you'll naturally, as a result of that, always frame it in terms of the niche, but we want to call your ideal clients forward with your content. And what that looks like is like niche targeted content, or yeah, that's another way of saying it. But what that means is basically making content that speaks specifically to your niche. So the objections will do that as well. And that's why we want to dig deeper and do that on an emotional level, because then when you speak to people with your content, you're speaking to them on an emotional level. And that really cuts through a lot of because there's so much content out there nowadays. So many coaches saying, do this, do that, do that, do that, but it's all very superficial. So they are literally making a way for you to stand out by being deeper with your content, by understanding people on a deeper level and speaking to them on that emotional level, the core, and addressing the core issues they're having, not just the surface level issues. Because like I said, that's where people tend to make decisions from, that emotional place, and then they dress it up with the logic. So we want to basically be able to speak to them on that emotional level with our content, and you'll cut through, you'll stand out doing that by doing that automatically. Obviously, you want to speak in terms of like things that are going to call them forward. So call them forward, empower them to make these decisions themselves, and to think about things, highlight problems that they're having in an empowered way, where they're like, oh wow, this guy, like, yeah, actually that's super useful. A big part of that as well is addressing the problems and concerns that they have. So like the problems and the solutions to those problems, you want to have those in your content, but have like one applicable thing per content, one problem, one solution, and like in one applicable way that they can go off and apply, because then they're going to build up trust in you over time to be like, oh, this guy's for me. And the research might be a little bit old, but from the first time people see you to signing up, it tends to be 33 times between them seeing you for the first time and signing up with you. So that's 33 pieces of content that they would consume if they never talk to you. But with that means, like, that's why posting every day, multiple times a day, is quite useful, especially in terms of that language, because if it's more powerful, the content, you can cut down the amount of times that they want to. They're like, oh, this person's for me, like, I'm in, let's do it. I know Yana talks about within 24 hours, people being able to view see your content, your page, resonate with that and be like, I want to sign up with you. And Yana gets a lot of that as well. She's a gun with the content side of things. So it's like 24 hours. That's the standard you want to set with the kind of content that you're making. So high quality content, because how you do anything is how you do everything. People associate that high quality. I'm talking emotional and like communicative quality. Yeah, you can do the video quality and that kind of thing as well, but high quality of what you have to say. That's huge. And then, yeah, a big thing with that as well is speaking to them in terms of their language, the language that, like I was saying before, their communicative style. That is a big thing in terms of content. And a couple of other things is overall, with the content, having authority style content, so content that frames you as the authority, is going to be huge. Content that's like speaks to them from a place of like, hey, here's why you're having these problems. Highlight the problems that they're having, but then also being like, here are the solutions, and here's essentially why your program or your coaching is the clear only solution to that. They're like, this is the guy for me. And that will be through doing the kind of content that we did before, speaking from that place of authority and like emotional authority as well, but also embodying that idea or that aspect of being a leader, because you need to be a leader through the calls. You're supposed to be leading them, coaching them through these decisions on the call itself. In your content, you want to be leading people as well. You don't want to just be saying, hey, here's what you should do, and that's it. Like, you want to actually lead, call people forward, call people to follow. And yeah, that's a big thing that shines through with authority style content is you position yourself as the authority, as someone who knows, as someone who has all of the answers to their problems, which essentially their biggest problem tends to be. Some people, it's like they don't know what they don't know, but it's also implementing or picking which things, because there are so many different ways you can approach. There are a million ways to skin a cat, but you have to pick one at the end of the day. Otherwise, if you start doing one and then switch to the next and then switch to the next, you'll never get it done. So you have to understand that your role as a coach, as a leader, is to actually help people pick which one is best. And you can just kind of be like, I have the knowledge. You give me all your context. Cool. I have all my context, and I can pick which one's best for you. And then that gives them that clarity, that focus, that ability to know what they need to do moving forwards. And that's absolutely huge. So all that to say, that's how I do that side of things, and that has led to me signing up multiple people, many people, on those kind of programs. I help other coaches sign up sign up clients for those kind of things as well. And it's kind of like an all-round process to make it easy, where people are just like, yep, cool, you're the guy for me, like, here are the payment details. Then you go through, do that, be a leader, be an authority. I'm going to keep it focused on that topic. And yeah, that's all for that one. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. I'd love to show you. I'm doing a bit of an offer where the first 5 people to respond from this and basically say, we'll make the term Easy 5,000. So if you DM me Easy 5,000, the first 5 people, I will for free walk you through that. So it's like an hour one-on-one call. We'll walk through how to do that, what things specifically you'd need to say based on your communicative style, your deficits, your niche, that kind of thing. Walk through that. That's a big one. So yeah, first 5, get in on that. It'll be all gravy, baby. And I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip. Bye.